Yeah. Well, Gabriel's one of only 4 Bears ever.
All right. To get started here, we get back at it here. We got a short yardage goal line and third down today. Beautiful day. We love. I mean, humidity's gone. It's awesome outside. So that's an instantly put you in a good mood day. So that's where we're at.
Do you expect Pinheiro to kick today?
To kick, I have no idea. I'll talk to Tabes. I'll find out if he will or won't. I'm not real sure.
How much can you share about how you guys go about lining up contingency plans in case this lingers into Sunday afternoon?
With Panera?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think that there's some things that you have to have a contingency plan for all that. That's my job. So you're always looking at worst case scenarios. So we look at that, we talk things through, and then we try to have a plan so that there's no surprises. If you can stay away from surprises, then there's no crisis. And if there's no crisis, then that means that you're good to go. So we talk about scenarios, but again, I'm not. The last thing I'm going to do with any of these guys is panic in any way.
Is Mike Davis back today?
Yeah, he will be back. Yep. Well, I don't think so. I don't, but I'm not positive yet. So we'll kind of work through that. We'll see where he's at. You know, I think with him, he's going to end up. We just got to see exactly where he's at, and I think he's truly going to end up being probably a game time decision. You know, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Gabriel's still concussion protocol.
Still, yeah, no changes with him. Same thing.
The Vikings' running offense through 3 games is obviously something they're relying on. How much is Hicks going to mean to you against what they're doing with some of that outside zone running and the cutbacks?
Well, I mean, we'll see. I mean, you hope that you're ready to go, that you have them. If you don't, you got to, we'll have a plan for that. But, regardless of who's out there, they're good at what they do with running the football. So we schematically need to be solid, and, having Hicks out there certainly helps. And again, so we'll let these next couple of days go by. We'll see where he's at and make a decision. But they do a lot of good things in that run game. They're hard to stop. But I think our guys they'll be looking forward to the challenge.
Week 17 up there last year, pretty steady performance offensively, particularly on third down. What do you recall about what clicked that afternoon for Mitch in your offense?
Really, the biggest thing was, we executed on third down. You have to do that against these guys. They're really good on third down. So you want to have a clean third down plan. You want to be smart with that. And our guys made plays. I mean, we were efficient in the red zone as well. And so I just thought that. Overall, that was the last game of the regular season before heading into the playoffs, and they needed that game. And I think the biggest thing that I was impressed with was just that our guys really, they didn't mentally check out on that game when it really didn't. There was obviously the Eagles situation, but other than that, we knew we were in. So they came to play, and that's the biggest thing I probably took away from it.
And in terms of that Vikings running game, they've had a lot of success getting the ball outside.
Yeah.
How do you combat that?
You got to protect the outside. I mean, it's your linebackers being able to run around, your safeties being able to help out, but then that's where they try to get you with the play actions and the movements and the screens and all that. So, again, I give their coaches a lot of credit. They do a lot of good things there with all that we just discussed. They got good football players, and they'll be ready to go, and hopefully we are too.
What were you? Go ahead.
Last week you talked about across the board we all need to kind of raise our confidence level, namely on offense. But where did Monday night kind of do that, and how are you seeing that?
Yeah, no, we all need to, and I mean for us within our building, number one, did we win? So we can always start there. Because there's some teams that are 0-3 right now after 3 games, and that's hard. You got to fight through that. We're 2-1 right now, so we like where that's at as a team, as a unit. But then as an offense, are we growing from week 1? Yeah, it's not hard to get much better from week 1. That's the easy part. But we want to keep trying to get better, figuring out what our identity is. We want to have good practices. We want to execute when given a chance to execute. We want to call good plays when given a chance. So, again, I'll never get caught in the negativity, never. And so I won't allow our players to ever fall into that.
Matt, as you guys signed Cordero, and incorporated into what you were doing. You guys had a plan and it laid out. But through 3 games, what have you learned about him in game situations that either is beyond what you expected or how it fits?
Nothing surprised me with him because, you know, Rich, we everything that we saw about him, we knew what we were getting. It's not hard to see what he can do, and now it's just a matter of fitting him into what you do. And then it's how you do it. How much going into this season was how much did we think he could digest and handle with the offense, and I think he's excelled in that. He's done really well. He works hard at it. He's a smart football player. But we have a lot of other people that you try to get the ball to as well. So it's just trying to mix and match all that.
And you kind of going back to third down, last year Minnesota was the best third down defense in the NFL, but you guys converted over 50% of your third down. What's the key there? Is it just scheming things up right? Is it getting manageable third downs? Kind of all the above.
Yeah, it's first, second down all the way, and I think they're a really good. Yesterday I said 538 starts together. It's 583. I was a little dyslexic, so 583. 583 starts together. They've done a lot of good things together. So first, second down, they play fast, and they knock you into 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, and then they play even faster. So if you can try to stay away and stay into that 2 to 4 range, third downs are inevitable. But can you make them manageable to where they can't do all their stuff? And that's what's I think why we had more success last year was because we were able to stay into manageable third downs because of first and second.
So last year, especially late in the season, starting with the Rams game, it seemed like the noise at Soldier Field was really effective for the first time in
Several years that I can remember. How important is that, and what role can that play in the game?
Yeah, it's a great point. The fans last year for those games, and in particular, I remember that Vikings game at home at night. They were rocking and rolling, and to be able to have them in our corner and cheering us on the entire game, and then just being out there to make the communication difficult for an offense, meaning the Vikings, it's a huge advantage. And you see the good teams around the league that have the fan base behind them for the entire game, just going crazy and being loud and supporting their players. Is huge, and I like that we had that last year, and we're ready to, we want to keep that going. It's a division game, and our players completely feed off of that passion.
Did you guys feel like you lost that in the second half of the first game when they started booing and
Feel like we lost what?
that's support, whatever lift that you guys got?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know how the players are or the coaches. I mean, you hear it at times, and any human being, you don't really want people booing for you, and then let alone your home fans. But so we want to play better so that they can cheer better, but all in all, it's the advantage that we had. From that crowd and just the way that how loud they get. I mean, it was awesome, and we love that. So the more of that we get, the better it helps us out and it helps us win.
Some people wondered if Khalil could raise the bar even higher this year because he was with you guys all off season, went through training camp and everything. Now you have 3 games in the books for this year. How would you kind of sum up the totality of what he's done? Yeah,
he's on another level right now. He affects every single play. Doesn't matter if he makes a play or not. He affects it, and every game every game I've watched this year already so far. I mean, he dominates, and whether it's getting a holding call or going after the football, like there's turnovers that are occurring, and he's allowing other guys to play well too. So there's been 0 drop off, and it's been an addition from last year to the way he's playing.
I'm just wondering, in-house, do you keep like a stat or a metric for like plays he just impacts? Do you know what I'm saying?
I don't know.
Defense
No.
guys don't?
They may. Yeah. I'm trying. I don't though. I don't.
What's he like in the building off the practice field? We hear a lot about his practice habits and the way he conducts himself at practice, but what about in the building?
Just chill. Just chill. Yeah, he's just a chill dude. He just does his thing, and he knows that he doesn't need to. He leads by his actions. He's the epitome of. He's not a rah-rah guy. But he has fun. He's focused. He finishes every single rep in practice. It doesn't matter where the ball goes. If it's a pass down the field 30 yards, he turns around and he runs. He does it every play, and so that's the practice part. I don't see all these guys all the time in here when they're in the building, but I just know from what I do see, he's pretty just chill.
Are there benefits to having a true star player on the team? I mean, aside from the obvious stuff he brings on the field, I mean, a guy that always gets so much attention, that the cameras are always on. Is there a benefit to having that on a roster?
Yeah, because he helps everybody else out. he's a multiplier, and he can make us good coaches. I mean, really, I mean, in defensive coordinators, and they change the game.
Man, if they're losing at home to the Packers, the home division game is even more important in this game. You know your players know that, but what's your role? What do you do to impress upon them the importance of any particular game? You know, last year you got quite a lot of credit for always having your team ready for big games.
Mm-hmm.
What particular tack do you take in situations like this to make sure that it gets
Just talking to them on a daily basis, and never making it where you all of a sudden you unload on them on how big of a game it is. You spread it out over the week, and you hit different points of the game. So you can touch about different aspects that we want to affect, how we want to attack them, and why it's important. And then maybe in there you sprinkle in the impact of a division game and the impact of playing at home. Maybe you give them some numbers and how we did in the past, or what it means, and how history lessons of other teams and how they do. So I'm not all about just unloading on them one big thing that this is it. This is it. I kind of just organically sprinkle it in throughout the week.
Is it done like individually, or do you ever get them as a group? Or
No, we meet every morning. We meet every morning as a team, and then I go off of my feel. If I feel like we need something a little bit more, if I don't, and I feel like we don't need much, and we need more individual time or group time, then I just break it up quick.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
because it was too short of a career.
Obviously old enough to.
Mark, what'd you make of the third down performance of Mitch's against the Redskins?
Yeah, I mean, obviously better, and I think that's a collective thing. And you know, he'll probably get too much credit for the percentage and too much blame. They're obviously, you know, have that's been a thing with Washington this year, and they've had their issues, and we've had our issues, and that came to a head. But it was better, and part of that was being better on first and second down, and then a lot of guys executing. Taylor Gabriel obviously making some plays, guys stepping up in protection, and that all was better.
Mark, what for you was the most impressive part of the final drive to get points in the 4-minute situation there in the fourth?
Yeah, I mean, the guys, again, we had a little air of confidence and, you know, a little build up of that, which is good and to be expected when things are good. But we, you know, would have liked to have made it worse, you know, earlier. Just a killer instinct of finishing a couple other drives. But no, that was great to see. Dave Montgomery obviously showed his stripes there a little bit. Tough dude to bring down, and it was good to see.
Mark, when you look at the Vikings tape on the defensive side, Anthony Harris is all over the place on the back end. What's the challenge that he poses this week in terms of just knowing where he is on the field?
Yeah, the challenge that he poses and they pose is they're all good, you know, and those guys can, you know, mix looks and show one thing, bring another, just rush forward, they're just really good. You know, it's a great scheme. They're very balanced in terms of pressure versus coverage. The looks that they show are very deceiving to a quarterback of how you set your protection and then, you know, turn it the other way. And it's either a free hitter of Harrison or, you know, one of those other guys doing their thing on a one-on-one. And they're really good. You know, they're well coached. They're healthy right now, so it's a kind of a perfect storm for them. And we have to, you know, do kind of a mix and match of things we've done so far in terms of protection and getting the ball out, and all the things that you do against a team like that.
Mark, when you've been watching Vikings tape with Mitch this week, I mean, can you tell the difference in the way he watches them? Just because this is the 5th time he's played them, it's pretty much the same group every single time he's played them. Can you kind of see the difference in the way he analyzes them as he's watching it?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, I think that's fair to say. Certainly, the divisional opponent and I guess the good thing and the bad thing is it's a lot of the same guys, and so that you know exactly who those guys are. And then the bad thing is it's those same guys. But they're more diverse this year in terms of fronts, in terms of a couple different personnel packages that they have put together. He's kind of mix and match some teams across the NFL, and you know they had been very tight in their personnel and their front, and then just matched everything looked the same, which is tough to defeat. So a little bit more, again, just a little bit more of a diverse deal, but you know who those guys are.
What are some of the things that Harry Hiestand is emphasizing with his group this week? You know, we talked to Matt yesterday about, you know, him saying that group needs to play better.
Yeah, I think just fundamentals. You know, just fundamentals of starting with communication. You know, everybody dialed in to whatever it is, going to the correct linebacker, and then just the fundamentals of footwork, hand placement, pad level, the things that Harry is unbelievable at. We didn't show up last week for whatever reason, and you know a lot of that was one or two guys. One guy I thought that played great was Cornelius Lucas, our team. You know, I thought it was just a great example of that was a big side adjust by everybody. That was a total surprise to everybody, and nobody blinked, and he's going against their best player all night, and so that was a huge bright spot for that group, and I think just our team in general of, hey, you never know. When, we talk about it all the time of, hey, you're the backup on this, and you're the backup on this, guys kind of go, yeah, I gotcha. But then it happens, and he responded well. But, just cleaner fundamentally sound. We're not asking them to do something they're incapable of doing. And that sounds simple, but then a guy starts pressing, makes one mistake, that becomes 2, becomes 6, becomes 10, and that's bad.
Marshall, in the couple hours leading up to kickoff, what is the crash course that you give to a guy like Lucas that where it is just a total surprise to everyone?
Both behind the scenes and when you get out there for warm-ups, just to get.
It just depends. I'm just laughing at some guys in the past. You're totally. I'm not saying here. You're totally faking it. You're no problem. And then when you walk in the locker room, you're like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? And there was none of that. It was, he's practiced well. He's played well in games. The quarterbacks have total trust in him, and so it was. In this case, it was a sincere reaction of trust and confidence.
Mark, what signs of progress did you see last week that are kind of universal, that will be as effective against a good defense like the Vikings as they were against the Redskins?
I think just fundamental execution, guys, of 11 guys being on the same page, guys not whatever it is, overcooking their block or stuff, just all the things that self-inflicted wounds. We're not good enough to overcome 2 or 3 self-inflicted wounds per drive, whether it's a penalty, a drop, a missed assignment, a missed throw, whatever those things are. We need to do it. We need to do it correctly to move the ball. We created some more big plays. Again, Taylor's a guy that's much improved, I think, from last year to this year. And guys, that's the way that they get validation, is to show up in a game and score touchdowns. Receivers don't trust you that, hey, you're playing a lot better. You're just not getting the ball. They're like, I'm not getting the ball. And so for that to happen, now, it's fair. Everybody else is live and fair game. We had a couple of guys that we had a chance to get the ball to that we didn't, and you just got to keep banging.
On the interception, aside from the actual decision to go that way to Allen, what's the coaching point on the throw there to make sure that if he does decide that that's where he's going?
Yeah, obviously ball placement is key there. That's the last thing you want to do in that situation. There was a little bit of a protection leak there as well that coulda, woulda, shoulda made a difference. And yeah, we fixed it and moved on.
Do you know what he saw that convinced him to throw back shoulder?
I don't know if he was throwing, I don't know if it was back shoulder. I think there was a combination of factors, and he missed it. Guy made Josh Norman made a great play. He was kind of banked outside to begin with, and that's the thing pre-snap. You'd want to go, okay, it's our best guy down there, right? And he's trying to, we've been hammering on the chemistry of those two guys, and, we believe in those two guys a ton, and probably force one that wasn't there.
With Rhodes on the outside, what is the challenge for Allen in understanding what his strengths are and how to get that?
Yeah, just film study, experience. A-Rob's been pressed a lot of different ways, and just he's long, he's strong, he's got great recovery, and he changes it up, and they change it up. Just as far as his leverage, his alignment, and so just a combination of all those things. Easier said than done.
How do you think Anthony Miller did last week, through the week of practice especially, and then how it translated to the game?
Yeah, he's an example of a guy, that in the Denver game did some things that were huge, that decided the outcome of the game, but he didn't have the ball in his hands. And that's kind of what, I was saying with Taylor is, and anybody, not just a receiver, but that's their validation, right, is scoring touchdowns and getting yards and that part of it. But sometimes it's the backside cutoff of a block that springs David Montgomery that is huge. And they don't celebrate it the same, but you want them to, because it's just as important. The left guard is probably never going to catch a touchdown pass, but he's vital. And so just reinforcing all those things. He did some things really well. He did some things that we need to improve upon. And that's all of us.
Thanks, everybody. Coach Dan will be next, and then Ivano after.
Doing good.
Chris, how did you sort of manage Eddie's emotional reaction to what happened during last week. Because obviously he was on such a high, and then he's got this injury that pops up in the middle of a otherwise ascent and confidence building week.
You just kind of, to be honest with you, it's just like anything. A problem comes up, you address it, you make a plan, and you go out. I know it sounds pretty simple, but that's, in my opinion, the only way to attack it, and that's what we did. And I thought he did a nice job on Monday night.
Chris, what was your process Monday afternoon, Monday night of sort of using your eyes to figure out where he was at and discussing with him just to try to figure out how much can we squeeze out of him?
Well, earlier, I guess that would have been probably Friday. We did a little bit, so I knew where our starting point was at, and then whatever that was, Saturday, Sunday, had some days off there, and then pregame, we knew there might be a little bit of pain, but he was going to be fine, and he hit the ball really well. I mean, his only miss on the whole night was actually the miss in the game. Other than that, pregame, he made everything. So I was real pleased with how he approached it, and we just watched and wanted to be smart, obviously, of where we were going to hit him from.
When you see him hobbling a little bit after kicks, what is your gut telling you, and how much do you need to figure out exactly how bad it is for him?
Well, you know that there's going to be a little bit of pain there, but there was nothing structurally wrong. So it's just, there's a lot of players out there playing through pain, and it's no different.
You guys have talked about wanting to see how he bounces back after his first miss. To do it under the circumstances where he does have pain in his leg, what did that tell you about him?
Real proud of him. I think that's another step in the right process. We're kind of, I was thinking about this the other night. We've been checking off boxes, and we still have, trust me, there's a lot more boxes to check off, especially as the weather turns here. But that's a good sign, and I'm proud of him for doing that. But we expect him to do that, and he did it.
How did Pat do with his kickoffs?
I was pleased with Pat. He did a good job. I know Pat hadn't done that in a couple years, and then we were able to get some on Friday to kind of see where he was at. And then he warmed up, and I thought he did a nice job. We need to do a better job covering for him. That's for sure. But I was pleased with him.
Do you expect Eddie to play this week?
He played last week. So.
What's the impact if he can't practice much, if at all, this week?
Well, normally during the work week, we practice. He's going to hit a couple times a week. Usually after a game, it's a 48-hour period where they're off and rehabbing. But really, if you think about it, and I looked at it this way, he kicked Monday, and we're going to go to work tomorrow and do our deal. And so to me, he's on a normal schedule.
When you say do our deal, you go down?
We won't go down tomorrow. We've been down quite a bit, and I don't think. The weatherman doesn't seem to be cooperating tomorrow, so we always have to look at that. But if not, we'll come here and we need to go inside or outside and get plenty of work.
How often in your career have you had a situation where, kind of leading up to the game, you're out there with Andre, you're with the trainer looking at the kickers?
This is my second go around. I've had it where a guy got hurt on a Friday, and we got a new kicker, and his first time I saw snap hold kick was in pregame. So, to be honest with you, this was not a crisis to me.
On the kickoff coverage, when everything early in the season just seems to be touchback, and then all of a sudden they got to go down and cover. And I know you practice, but it's not the same speed. What is the challenge of that?
There was a lot. I know what you're saying. It's a good question because there was a lot of big returns last week, and I think you kind of see that at the beginning of the year. There's obviously nothing like live bullets, and we got to do a better job. And we're going to be faced with a huge challenge this week. Abdullah is really good, and then they just picked up Sherrills in the punt return game, so we have our work cut out for us. But we have to ratchet up our game, and we got to play better and got to coach better. So that's what we're going to try to get done.
Sherrills was in Minnesota during your first stint here. He's been in that organization forever. What stands out to him as a punt returner?
I think he's number one, I think he's just a really good football player. Got a lot of respect for him. If you look at it, I think he's been in the top 10 5 times, top 2 times. Last time, I think Tyreek Hill was the only guy that beat him out as the punt return leader. So, he's a dynamic football player, solid football player with regards to making great decisions, can make you miss, and you cannot fall asleep on this guy because he'll hurt you.
Makes him dynamic because he's not obviously a prototype in terms of speed, size, all those things.
I think that's a stereotype that you're going with. because the tape always tells me otherwise, and that's the only thing that I listen to. I mean, we've watched a lot of him, and in fact, I've kept a Cheryl's return tape throughout my career just to continue studying, because like I say, I think he's a good player to study and a good football player, and we better be ready to go.
Yeah, like rolling in your house at breakfast and stuff, and all the time.
Depends what's on TV. All right, thanks, guys.
Hey, guys.
What is it important for your guys to do to defend cutback runs on the outside zone?
Yeah, great question. Number one, you got to have edges. You know, we always talk, a team like this, no edge, no chance. You know, so you got to be great on the front side. In the middle, they want to get you running. They want to get you turned sideways. You know, and then the backside, you know, they want to get you cut out. So you got to be really good, you know, on the front side, and then you got to stay square. You got to get knocking back, and then your chase mechanics all got to be in place. Otherwise, you know, face this scheme, you know, a lot. You know, been up against, you know, when I was in Indy, obviously in the same division, you know, so there's a lot of common threads that run through their run game now that we've seen, and we've been hurt. It's really, really good. They do a great job. The offensive line does a great job. The tight ends are doing a great job. Obviously, they got the number one runner, you know, in the league right now. So it's a, you know, great challenge for us.
How rare is that type of cut blocking on the backside anymore? Or do the teams that still run this outside zone all still cut on the backside?
It depends, you know, whether they're running inside zone, mid zone, you know, true stretch, toss, perimeter plays. So it's there. So again, you guys got to do a great job staying on their feet and, you know, low shedding, things like that. Otherwise, there's huge seams in your defense.
Chuck, how do you condition a defense, especially a good one, to stay on point with a guy like Cook, where you can stop him, get kind of lulled, and then boom? How do you?
Another great question, because it can be 1, 2, 4, 5, 2, 0, 80. So it's doing your job down after down after down, and staying disciplined that way. And you can't get away from that. You absolutely can't get away from that. And because you don't know. You don't know. There's 65, 66, 67 plays, and I can't tell you which one it's going to be. So you got to do your job. You got to be where you're supposed to be. You got to get lined up. You got to communicate. You got to play with great fundamentals and great technique every single time.
But do you almost have to be almost like a little league coach, and every play remind your team, or do you just kind of assume that this is a veteran defense? They know that
they watched enough tape. I ain't got to say nothing. They know.
As you've gotten to know Akeem's skill set a little more in the last few months, what stands out to you about the way he uses his hands to get on opposing offensive linemen before they get to him?
Well, I think, again, Jay does a great job with those guys, but extremely athletic, extremely quick, very cerebral. He can tell formation-wise, way they line up, personnel, down and distance, all those things. What's coming, what blocking schemes he's going to get based on, quarterback under, back at home, gun runs, all those kind of things. That gives all those guys, a head start. And again, I credit Jay, the job that he does with those guys. And then those guys do a great job of drilling all the things that you're talking about and working them day in and day out. Because it's going to be really, really important, because they'll get up on you and they'll go quick count and they'll start running, they'll start scramble blocking, all those kind of things. And if you're late, off the ball, you don't get your hands on these guys. Again, all the things we talked about are going to show up.
Chuck, Diggs and Thielen, what are the coaching points on guys who maybe don't have the volume they've had in years past, but seem to have a lot?
Who is that?
Diggs and Thielen, receivers, when they don't have the volume they've had in years past, but they have kind of the explosive plays still showing up.
Yeah, two great players. They're game wreckers. We put them up on the board and said, these are two guys that, because they'll, on early downs, first and second and run situations, you got the run, boot, run, hard sell, play action. They're great route runners. They're very competitive. They got great hands. They can take the top off. The scheme is one where it's going to be great discipline across the board, front to back on your whole defense. And, got to know where those guys are at. There's going to have to be some recognition, formation recognition, and then eye discipline. You can't get caught up, with your eyes in the backfield, and not seeing those guys, because they're going to move them around. They're going to cut the splits. They're going to do things to where you can't go get your hands on them. And so we got to do a great job. And then it's communication in the back end with all these, race routes and crossers and speedos, and it's hard to defend.
It seems like you've already faced 3 versions of this offense already this year, kind of that Kubiak stretch zone play action.
Hopefully it'll help a little bit, but again, everybody kind of runs the same stuff. You just pull the decals off. Bodies are different, players are different, talent level's different. We got great respect, for 14 and 19 and, 33 and all these guys, and they can beat you in a lot of different ways. And again, like the run game, it's one play and he goes 80 yards, on a really, really good, Packer defense. And same thing, if you're not set, ready to go, they're going to hustle up the line of scrimmage, snap the ball. You're not ready on defense. Could be 3rd and 10, 3rd and 9, and they hit a shot over the top. So we got to be ready to roll.
Last week, you were talking about how in practice the takeaways were starting to come.
To see that dam break in a game, what was Monday night like for you to see the flood keep coming?
Yeah, I think for all of us, it was really cool. Again, it's always good when you talk about certain things and you emphasize certain things, and then they show up. It just, guys can come back in and say, hey, we just say catch the ones they throw to you. You'll lead the league in interceptions every single year, either individually or as a unit. And so we've just got to keep it going. It was great. It was great to see them come. It was great to see those guys make plays. But again, it's a byproduct of practice, and so we just got to keep that thing going.
Can you talk a little bit about how effective it is to have have HaHa and Eddie Jackson as the safeties for this team and how well they work on the field?
How,
How, like, HaHa and Eddie Jackson, how effective does it have them both on the field?
oh, yeah. And again, I think you can add, Dion to that mix. I mean, there's great chemistry there. There's great communication there. And again, that's happening, in the meeting room. It's happening in walkthrough, and then in practice that happens. And so it's, when you know where the other guy is going to be at all times, and you really don't have to think about it or orchestrate that thing and play off of one another, it makes it very difficult, for the offense. It makes it difficult for quarterbacks. As good as these quarterbacks are and as good as Kirk is, we got to do a great job of making him work, both pre and post snap. Again, Deshae and Sean do a phenomenal job with that group back there. And, the communication, the experience, the football IQ in that room is really, really high. And those are really two smart guys that spend a lot of time, preparing and trying to set those things up.
When Matt impacts a game like he did on Monday night, how does
One more time?
When Khalil impacts a game like he did on Monday
Yeah.
night, how does that reverberate around the rest of the locker room and the rest of the defense to kind of?
No, it's huge. I mean, it's blood in the water, and when that stuff, starts to go, it's momentum, and for entire defense, for your entire team, you can feed off of that. It goes both ways, because we saw it turn, in the second half. And momentum's a crazy thing, but, when he comes in and the thing is, I mean, he does this every day. You guys are out at practice, and you can see this guy. I'm just in awe of the way this guy prepares, but really, how he practices. He does that every day at practice. He's the first, they race out to the ball every period that we have, and, he takes the field on game day the same way. And we always say the speed of the leader determines the rate of the pack, and, everybody's just trying to keep up, and match his intensity and match his play. And he's a humble guy. He doesn't care about any of that stuff. He just wants to win. He wants his teammates to do well.
Chuck, how often does he impact plays, Khalil, when he might not show up traditionally in a score sheet? I mean, when he gets a sack, it's easy to see, right? I mean, how often is he really influencing things out there when maybe the naked eye you don't see it?
Yeah, I think through the course of the 3 ball games and the amount of plays that he's played, if normal guy, like a regular human being, a regular football player would be probably 40 to maybe 50%, on plays that, whether he had a tackle on an assist or whatever, or didn't, because it wasn't direct, he wasn't at the point of attack. He's in the low 80 percentile, which is off the charts. Now you would want like a ratio for a middle linebacker that's in the middle of the defense, run and pass. You'd want him to be involved in probably 1 or 2 out of every 4 or 5 plays. He should be. Where a corner out on this side, if he's a lockdown guy and they stay away from him, he may do his job and be involved in a handful of plays out of 70. And this guy being on one side of the defense or the other, they're going to do everything to tend to him, take care of him in the run game and the pass game, and he's still affecting 80% of the plays one way or another.
Something you guys keep
It's off
track
the, yeah, it's off the charts.
We hear so much about him in practice. What's he like in the meetings and in film study?
Just quiet, engaged, very intentional, very deliberate, takes his notes. He doesn't say much. He's a quiet guy, but he's taking it all in, and he's always prepared. He's always prepared, and he's just a special dude. He's a great player, but he's a great teammate.
Chuck, with Kyle Fuller, as many plays on the ball he's made in the past few seasons, he's still targeted a lot. What do you kind of make of that, and how he's been able to handle that and still continue to make plays?
Yeah, I just think, when you're really good up front, your front seven's really good, people are struggling, maybe to run the football on you, they've got to try to, go at those guys. It doesn't matter whether it's Kyle or Buster in the slot or Prince on the outside. And, so that just comes, with being really good up front and being good against the run, and that's gonna show up again, Sunday at 325. Those guys are going to have to do a great job. And then I got to do a better job of trying to take some of the pressure off those guys. Because there's a lot of calls where it may not be man, but you can be in cover 3, you can be in quarters, and guy runs vertical on you out there, man or not, you got him one-on-one. So those guys are in their check. It's a tough job, but they love it. They love the competition. They love preparing for it and playing that chess game out there. So they're going to have to be really good come Sunday.
Danny dropped his weight in this offseason to gain speed. How do you think that sets him up against a running back like Dalvin Cook?
Yeah, it gives you a fighting chance. And again, it'll be all hands on deck. Take care of him. He's a game wrecker, as we know. Not only toting the thing, but in the pass game. So we got to do a great job, and that'll help. Danny, you can see. You could see as soon as he came back to training camp, the quickness and the suddenness, the change of direction, the burst, the twitch. You need all that to be able to cover a guy like Dalvin.
Prince had an illegal use of hands penalty, the one that negated the sack. He's had 4 penalties. I'm just curious, are those plays just incidental versus egregious? Is it, for a veteran player, is there anything to do to
Yeah, Prince, I love the way Prince plays. He's really, really aggressive, and he likes, getting his hands on at the line of scrimmage and disrupting that way. And it's just a technique thing. It's not malicious. He's not trying to, he's not one of those guys that wants to hurt his team, and get fouls like that. Nobody felt worse than Prince, when that happened. You get a strip sack and a fumble recovery, and you give him a first down on a, hands to the head type deal. You're playing press technique, and they're coming off and they're moving and stuff. Things are happening really quick. So there's incidental stuff that happens, and they see one little deal, flags out, and so it's just a technique thing. We go back and say, keep your hands down, work for the breastplate, when you're trying to, jam and reroute, things like that, and stay away from the head.
is it a matter of adjusting to the way it's being called? Is that any kind of?
I think we all have to adjust, the way that, you can sack a quarterback, everybody had to adjust. So I think the same thing happens at all spots. It's got to, you got to adapt on the outside as well. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Chuck.